What's up, guys? Welcome back to Iron Card Gaming. Happy Saturday or Sunday, whenever this video uploads. Today I'm bringing you my Red Dragon Archfiend deck. Basically, a little background with this deck. Originally, when I stopped watching Yu-Gi-Oh, I stopped watching at 5Ds, and then when I got back into it, I ended up falling in love with Red Dragon Archfiend. And ever since then, I put the time and effort into building this deck. I got a couple hot cards in here that are definitely going to make you want to play this deck. The extra deck itself is just a beast, and you can just literally stack into the next Red Dragon. And, you know, without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. Before that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the new pack openings, product reviews, deck profiles, and everything else we do here on the channel. All right, let's get into it. So obviously, I'm going to be playing 3 Red Resonators. If you guys don't know what this card does, basically what Red Resonator does is when this card is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your hand. When this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up monster on the field, gain life points equal to its attack. You can only use the effect of Red Resonator once per turn. Basically, this gets you a free body on the board, and then when it's special summoned, it gains you back life points. Easy enough said, one of the best tuners in your deck. Next, I play 3 Crimson Resonators. Basically, what Crimson Resonator does is if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If the only other monster you control is exactly one Dark Dragon Synchro monster, you can special summon up to 2 Resonator monsters from your hand or deck, except Crimson Resonator. You can only use the effect of Crimson Resonator once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters except from the extra deck except Dark Dragon Synchro monsters the turn you activate this effect. Basically, as long as you have 90% of your extra deck is Dark Dragon Synchros, so this is a guaranteed extra 2 bodies on the board. Not only will you be able to, synchro summon depending on what you have with this, and then whatever that synchro is, you can synchro summon again with the other 2 bodies that this brings out. They only get better. And then after that, we play 3 Synchron Resonator. If you don't know what Synchron Resonator's effect is, his effect is if you synchro summon, if a synchro summon monster is on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon Synchron Resonator once per turn this way. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Resonator monster in your graveyard except Synchron Resonator and add it to your hand. So not only does it allow you to go into your synchro plays, it's also a free body on the board in and of itself. So you could special summon one, normal summon one, and then let's say you've got a level 10 synchro on the field, you can go up into a level 12. Because certain monsters in this extra deck require you to go in with 2 synchros. Then one-ofs for the Resonators. I play 1 Creation Resonator and 1 Chain Resonator. Basically, Creation Resonators effect is if you control a face-up level 8 or higher synchro monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Chain Resonator, when this card is normal summoned while the synchro monster is on the field, you can special summon 1 Resonator from your deck, except Chain Resonator. So this special summons itself, and then this special summons a card from the deck. It gets you another body on the board. all the Resonators, all tuners. Now, for some interesting plays. I play 2 Red Sprinter. Basically, if you don't know what Red Sprinter does, is Red Sprinter's effect is when this card is normal summoned, while you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Fiend tuner from your hand or graveyard. You can only use the effect of Red Sprinter once per turn. Basically, this either brings back a Resonator or gets a Resonator on the board. And, you know, most of the Resonators you're playing are at least level 3 to level 2 or 1. So, you know, you can go anywhere in, you know, you can basically go into your level 6, which is your lowest synchro. Or if you get lucky, you can potentially go into a level 7. That's Red Sprinter. And then Red Warg, I play 2 of. Basically, Red Warg's effect is when you normal summon a Resonator monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but its attack becomes halved. Basically, what I've done with this card is if I summon a Resonator and I don't, most of the time, the only time I have a trouble with this card is if I have a level 3 Resonator. So what I'll do is I'll summon the Resonator and then set Red Warg in defense. That kind of prevents my opponent from doing anything because it's a 2200 defense. So it kind of protects me while I get another Resonator either from my graveyard or from my deck into my hand or on the field. But this card is definitely a staple because once you get that level 2, you can bring out the level 2, go straight into your rank 8 or your level 8 synchro. And then I play 1 Red Familiar. Basically, Red Familiar's effect is you contribute 1 Fiend monster, then target 1 Dark Synchro monster in the graveyard, special summon it in defense position, but its effects is negated. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Dark Synchro monster you control, and declare a level from 1 to 8. The monster becomes that level until the end of the turn. So basically, this allows you to, you know, let's say you have a level 8 on the board, and you... Not only does it bring back one of your Synchro monsters, let's address that first. You know, let's say you go from Red Rising Dragon into Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. You can use Red Familiar to bring back your Red Rising Dragon, and then, you know, you can make it either a level 8 or you can, you know, any level in between depending on what synchros or tuners you have in your hand. Not synchros, but, you know, whatever tuner monster you have in your hand. And then, for the really good card right here, Wandering King Wildwind. Now, this card, you guys, weirdly enough, I discovered this card playing Duel Links. I know that sounds funny, but trust me, this card is a beast, and I'll tell you why. If you control a Fiend tuner with 1500 or less attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If you attempt this, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except synchro monsters. During your main phase, except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard and add 1 Fiend type tuner with 1500 or less attack from your deck or hand, or from your deck to your hand. So not only is he, you know, let's say you summon a Resonator, you get to special summon him for free. Then, when he goes to the grave the following turn, you can banish him from your graveyard and bring back that Resonator. So, with 3 of these, you're going to be constantly synchro summoning and cycling your Resonators from your deck to hand or from, you know, to the graveyard. You know, it's really crazy, and this card's such a beast. And then the last for the monsters, I play 3 Link Slayer. Now it's a level 5, but the reason I play Link Slayer is basically his effect is if you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand once per turn. You can discard up to 2 cards, then target that many spell and traps on the field and destroy them. Normally, I never really use him for that effect. I'll normally, you know, special summon him and then play off of him with a Resonator. So, you know, he's a rank 5. You know, I can go into a rank 7 or I can go into a rank 8. So, you know, I basically don't even use his other effect, even though it is a good effect. To this day, honestly, in every duel I've used this deck, I've never used his second effect. I only basically use him as a free body on the board to jump right into my Red Rising Dragon. Or not my Red Rising Dragon, my Red Dragon Archfiend. Or anything higher. But this card's definitely still a staple because, one, it's a free body on the board if you have nothing else. And you can at least protect yourself with 2,000 attack. And with that said, let's go into the spells. I'm playing 3 Resonator commands. Basically what Resonator command does is discard 1 Resonator monster, add 1 level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to hand. You can only activate 1 Resonator command per turn. So basically, let's say you open up with a bunch of tuners, a bunch of Resonators, and no material. You can discard 1 of your extra tuners, and then you can either go after your red familiar or your... For me, I always go after a Wandering King Wildwind. And basically, you know, once I have a Resonator on the board, I can special summon Wildwind, and you know, that instantly gets me into my Red Rising Dragon or another play. Then I play 3 Resonator calls. And basically this just adds a Resonator monster from your deck to hand. You know, let's say you open up nothing but, you know, synchro materials but tuners, but you have one of these, or you draw into this, or you open with this and nothing else. You know, you can always use this and then go into a synchro. Then I play 2 Resonator Destructions. So basically what Resonator Destruction is when a Resonator monster is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, select 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. Destroy this card during the second end phase after activation. So it's basically on the field for 2 turns. And trust me, you can do a lot of synchro summoning in 2 turns with this deck, guys. You're going to be bouncing your opponents either back row or bouncing their monsters. This deck is a going second base deck, so if you open with this, if you're going second and you open with this, or both of them, you're going to be just sitting there picking off cards left and right. This card's crazy good. Then, like I said, bouncing cards. I play 2 Cosmic Cyclones, you know, pay 1,000 life points, target a spell or trap on the field and banish it, not send it to the grave, banish it. That's why I love this card, because it basically removes it from play. You know, it's a great way to get rid of your opponent's back row or difficult cards, especially during game 2 or 3. This card comes in clutch sometimes. Then I play 2 Pot of Desires. I know, guys, I'm a horrible person. I don't have this card hollowed out in this deck, but you know, it is what it is. I'm working on it. But basically Pot of Desires is, let's say you already have your board set up and you're just trying to go into as many synchros as possible. You know, banish 10 cards from your deck face down and then draw 2. I play 2 just because I like to play 2. Have I ever went into using 2? I could say I have once, and it actually came through because I had a Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend on the field, and you know, I was trying to get into another. I had 1 Red Rising Dragon left in my deck, or in my extra deck, Pot of Desires, and you know, Pot of Desires 1 went into the second Pot of Desires, and then the next turn I used the second one, and I was able to get into my Red Rising Dragon. You know, I think that was the only time I ever struggled with this deck, but definitely worth it to at least play it at 2, in my opinion. Then for the 1-ofs, I use 1 Upstart Goblin. You know, draw a card and your opponent gains 1,000 life points. That can definitely come in clutch depending on the situation you're in. 1 Monster Reborn. You know, bring a monster back from the graveyard, from any graveyard. That's always a good card to have. And then I play Call by the Grave. Hate that this thing's at 3, or at 1, sorry. Hate that it's not at 3. Hate that it's at 1. But it is what it is. I'd rather have 1 than none. And then for the traps, I play 2 Synchro Call. Basically, if you don't know what Synchro Call is, it basically targets a monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but it has its effect negated, if any. And if you do, immediately after this effect resolves, Synchro Summon one Dark Dragon or Fiend Synchro monster using only materials you control as materials, including the summoned monster. So basically, Synchro Call is a free Synchro Summon using the monsters that you got. So it brings back a monster, and then no matter what the monsters are, you instantly Synchro Summon. So it's a free, card from the extra deck on the board. And last but not least, this card came out in Eternity Code, and it is Red Rain. Basically, what Red Rain does is this is probably one of the best support cards I've seen for the Red Rising Dragon deck. If you control a level 8 or higher Synchro monster, banish all monsters on the field except the monsters with the highest level. Also, the remaining face-up monsters on the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. If a Dark Dragon Synchro monster is summoned to your field while this card is in your graveyard, you can add this card to your hand. So you basically, I only played at 1 because 90% of your extra deck, as you guys are about to see, they're all Dark Dragon Synchros. Almost all of them. I think only one of them actually is only a Fiend. All the rest are Dark Dragons. It's crazy. This card is epic. It protects your dragons. It protects, it basically protects all your Synchro monsters except one. But I hardly ever go into that one. So for the extra deck, I play 2 Red Rising Dragon. Basically, this starts you off. When this card is Synchro Summoned, you can target one Resonator monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. The turn you activate this effect, except Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. Your main phase, except the card. Dark Dragon Synchro monsters. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Target 2 level 1 Resonator monsters in your graveyard and special summon both of them. Basically, not only, let's say you go into this with your Red Resonator. You're going to go into it with Red Resonator, pop its effect, bring back Red Resonator, and then you can either go into Red Hot Dragon Archfiend, or you can go into Scarlet Red Hot Dragon Archfiend. Either way, you can go into a big boss monster in just one turn. So that's, definitely a perk. And then if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and then get back 2 Resonators on the field. Then I play a Dark Highlander, which is, I believe, your only level, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's your level 7. One of your only level 7s. And basically, if you summon him, let's say game 1, you see your opponent's a Synchro player 2, a heavy Synchro player like this deck. Basically, all you gotta do is get Dark Highlander on the board, and that's it. Neither player can Synchro summon. That's it. So you're basically gonna have your boss monster on the board, and that's gonna set the pace of the duel. And then once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls that is equipped with an equip card. Destroy all equipped cards to that monster, and if you do, inflict 400 damage to your opponent for each card destroyed. So basically, if you're, that's a very specific effect, but I basically just run Dark Highlander in the deck because, once you get him on the board and your opponent Synchro summons a lot, you lock them out of all their Synchros. Then I play 100 Eyes Dragon. Basically, his effect is once per turn, you can banish one level 6 or lower dark effect monster from your graveyard. Until the end phase, this card's name becomes the banished monster and replace its effect with the banished monster's original effect. If this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, add one Earthbound Immortal from your deck to hand. Basically, I only run this card because it's a good beat stick, and I was looking for a good filler for a Dark Synchro. And, you do have level 6 or lowers. So, you could target one of your Resonator monsters and use that effect. Or you can use your Wild Heart, your Wandering King Wildwind. Basically use his effect, but I only really use him because he's a 3k beat stick and he's a Dark Dragon Synchro. Then I play 2 Red Dragon Archfiend. And basically, after damage calculation, if this card attacks a defense position monster, your opponent controls destroy all defense position monsters your opponent controls during the end phase. Destroy all monsters you control that did not declare an attack this turn. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. 3k beat stick, your generic 3k beat stick, just like your 100 Eyes Dragon. 3000 attack. Can't ask for anything more. Now we're getting into the crazy synchros. Scarlet, Red Dragon Archfiend. Basically the 2.0 of Red Dragon Archfiend. Basically his effect is this card's name becomes Red Dragon Archfiend, like I said. While it's on the field or in the graveyard, once per turn you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible with attack less than or equal to this card's other than this card, then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So basically you get to do free damage once per turn to your opponent for every special summon monster they got, on top of being able to attack. So definitely that I play it at 2. And then like I said, one of your big boss monsters, we're going up in the world. You go from 3000 to 3200, which is with Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. And his effect, which is a quick effect, you can target one face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of this turn. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target one tuner in your graveyard, special summon it in defense position. You can only use the effect of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss once per turn. Basically, it allows you to get a free body on the board from the grave, and you can negate one of your opponent's card effects. That's why I played it at 2, because sometimes you can get 2 negates off and 2 bodies back on the board. Then I play 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane. Now we're at 3500 beat stick with 3000 defense. You contribute 1 monster, then target 1 Red Dragon Archfiend monster in your graveyard, special summon it. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon 2 tuners with the same level, 1 from your deck and 1 from your graveyard in defense position. So it gets you 2 bodies on the board and from 2 separate spots. 1 from the grave, 1 from your deck, and 1 from your grave. And it's 3500. It's a beast. It's a monster. Then I play a Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend. Like I said earlier, this card came in clutch one time. You got 3500 and 3000 again. Must be synchro summoned, cannot be synchro summoned by any other way. You can only use one of these effects. Use each of these effects once per turn. The first effect is during your main phase, you can destroy all other cards on the field, also for the rest of this turn. Other monsters you control cannot attack. It's pretty dope. Wipe the field and then just smash into your opponent. Second effect is during either player's battle phase, when a spell or trap card is activated, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, and if you do, this card gains 500. So not only can you negate something, let's say you attack into your opponent and they pop evenly matched, or anything. They pop anything on you with this card, you can negate it and it becomes a 4k beat stick. Tyrant Red Dragon Archfiend is just a beast. Then I play Red Nova. Red Nova is this card gains 500 attack for each tuner monster in your graveyard. Cannot be destroyed by an opponent's card effects. When an opponent monster declares an attack, you can target the attacking monster, banish this card, and if you do, negate that attack during the next end phase. Special summon this banished card by this effect. So not only can you negate your opponent's attack if they try and destroy this, but let's say they just powered up one of their monsters for the turn, to try and beat over it, you can banish this card and negate the attack, and then you can bring him back for that turn. I've done it a couple times with this card, and it's just a monster. And then basically your big boss daddy of the deck is Hot Red Dragon Archfiend, King Calamity. When this card is synchro summoned, you can activate this effect. For the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate card effects. Also, cards your opponent control cannot activate their effects. Your opponent cannot activate card effects in response to this effect's activation. If this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an... Sorry guys, read that way too quick. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one level 8 or lower Dark Dragon Synchro monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So, sorry that I got tongue tied up on that. Basically, when you destroy an opponent's monster, not only do they take the difference of, battle damage, they also take that monster's attack as damage. It's crazy. And then let's say he gets destroyed and you get to bring back a Red Dragon, any Synchro monster, Dark Dragon Synchro monster from your graveyard. And last but not least, to wrap up the extra deck, I just play Master King Archfiend. Basically, his effect is once per turn during your standby phase, pay 500 life points or destroy this card. Once per chain, if you pay life points, except during the damage step, you can send one fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard with the attack offense equal to the amount paid. Once per chain, if a fiend monster is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can roll a 6-sided die and then apply this effect. Apply this effect on one of the monsters based on the result. And basically 1, add 1 to your hand. 2 through 5, shuffle into the deck. 3, special summon it. So basically, you're playing a game of chance. You can either, depending on what you roll for the dice, you can special summon a monster. You can shuffle it into the deck. Or you can add it to your hand. It's a good way to get a free body on the board or get a card you need in your hand, or not even get it in your hand, get it onto the field. So, it's a gamble, but, hey, I really like this card for me, at least. But, that's the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day.